Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the final session on polity and constitution. Final, as in today and tomorrow, being the final weekend. We'll wait for others to join, and then we'll begin our discussion for the day. Jagabandhu sir, along with Lakshmikant, can we use important judgments that transfer India? Oh, transform India? Not really, yaar. Not required. Too much of useless information. I think in the very first class, I discussed that book list. Just follow that. There is absolutely no need to overdo it. And those are all old judgments which you have already discussed in the class. So, need not worry on that. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. In the meantime, others can keep on joining. So, in the previous class, we had taken up for discussion the topic. I mean, it was a very large ground we covered, right from Article 370. We also looked into Schedule 5 areas, 6 areas. We saw emergency provisions, center-state relations, all those elements of competitive, cooperative, unitary, federal, all these features, right? And I had told you, please mug up these features. Hopefully, you have at least started memorizing those elements. And then we also discussed, along with this, the center-state relations, some recommendations of Sarkaria Commission, recommendations of Panchi Commission, and accordingly, we then had moved on to discussing fundamental rights. We saw Article 12, Article 13, the entire concept of basic structure, pros, cons, everything. And eventually, we also saw Article 14, the first fundamental right under the first group of fundamental rights. That was Article 14. Okay, so equality before law and equal protection of laws. Today, we will take up for discussion these other topics from Article 15 onwards. Okay. Arjun, sir, please explain UCC. UCC will discuss under DPSP, don't worry. What is UCC? Uniform Civil Code. Under which article? 44. Under DPSP. We'll discuss that under DPSP, hopefully tomorrow, right? Okay, so you know the deal. We'll begin our discussion today with some practice questions. So 45 seconds, or let's say a minute, to solve all these questions one by one. Starting with the first question. 45 seconds for this. Please use the poll and mark your answer accordingly. Very few got this answer correct. A lot of you marked this wrong, and I'll tell you what is the problem. First statement is of course correct. There is no issue there. The number of offices of chairperson reserved for SCs and STs in the panchayats at each level is in proportion to their population in the entire state. This statement is actually correct. Okay. But when it comes to municipalities, not less than 1/3 of total number of seats amongst chairpersons in municipalities shall be reserved for women is wrong. Amongst members, for chairperson reservation, you have to refer to the state legislature. State legislature will make the law, and then the seats, how many seats are to be reserved for chairpersons, that will be decided by the state legislature. 1/3 is not there. Okay, 1/3 is only for the members. Again, something we had discussed and mentioned very clearly as a point of difference between panchayats and municipalities. So 2 is wrong. The right answer is A, 1 only. Moving on to the next question. Solve this question. 45 seconds, sufficient time. Okay, 33% got this answer correct. Let's see. A judge can be removed only by an order of the president, but that order has to be based on a motion passed by both the houses by a special majority. 1 is correct, no problem. When a removal motion signed by members is given to the speaker or chairman, he or she can refuse it. Of course, 2 is also correct. The speaker or chairperson can remove the reject the motion. In the case of Justice Deepak Mishra, we had seen this. And number 3, the committee that investigates into the charges, that is the inquiry committee, a 3-member committee, shall consist of members of parliament. Really? It does not consist of members of parliament. It comprises of judges, chief justice or judge of Supreme Court, judge or chief justice of High Court, and an eminent jurist, not MPs of the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. 3 is wrong. A, 1 and sorry, C, 1 and 2 only. Moving on to question number 3. Easy question. 30 seconds should be sufficient. Arjun, how a motion can be cancelled? It is disheartening. I mean, if you look at the Judges Inquiry Act 1968, we had seen this provision there. There's a previous year question from UPSC in 2019. We had solved that question in the class. This is not justified. Revisions are important. Okay, a lot of you mark this correct. For a simple reason, that assertion itself is wrong. So basically, capital punishment passed by a trial court or a subordinate court cannot be executed without the concurrence of High Court and not Supreme Court. So A is wrong. If A is wrong, this becomes wrong, this becomes wrong, this becomes wrong. D is the right answer. Remember, the Sessions Court's punishments have to be approved by the High Court, not by the Supreme Court. So that was question 3. Moving on to question number 4. I'll give you 30 seconds to solve this. Relatively easy. Okay, it's C. Part C category states, the smaller princely states and those provinces, they actually are called the forerunners of modern day UTs. So the answer is C, Part C category states. Moving on to the next question, question number 5. Read the statement. 45 seconds and mark the answer. Oh, so C and D. The CAA does not apply to these areas. The Act does not apply to tribal areas. Should you remember? It is not applicable in Schedule 6 areas. It is not applicable in the inner line permit. So, both the statements are wrong. And hence, D, neither one nor two. Okay. Moving on to the next question, question number 6. Try to use elimination if you can to solve this question. No problem, Arjun. The motion can be rejected by the presiding officer. Refer to your notes, you'll get this point. Anyway, presiding officers have full authority to reject any motion, etc. in the house. They are the bosses. So, of course, they can. Okay, great. A lot of you mark this answer correct. See, which of the following statements is not correct? The nominated members of Rajya Sabha form a part of impeachment, of course, is correct. Oath of President is administered by the CGI, is correct. The President and the VP can resign from their office by giving resignation in writing to each other. Of course, it is correct. The President gives resignation to the VP, VP to the President. If all three are correct, what remains is the wrong answer. This is wrong actually. Because Neelam Sanjeev Reddy was the president and the only president who was elected unopposed. I had mentioned this statement in the class also, that he was the only one who was elected unopposed, meaning there was no candidate who contested in front of him, and he was elected unopposed. No elections only. Question number 7. Again, more of a mixed situation. Why is this the case? It was a very easy question. Governor of the state acts as the ex officio chairperson. Really? Where have we seen this point that governor becomes a chairman of the council? Of course not. So one is wrong. The maximum strength is fixed at 1/2 or 1/3. 1/3. Wrong. And it is not the assembly but the parliament which has a power to create or abolish. Right? 3 is also wrong. D is correct. So that's question number 7. For 8th question, please mark the answer. Shalu, please refer to your notes. Right? I think that is the minimum effort that every student should take at least. Refer to your notes. It's clearly mentioned on the slides. I drew the entire structure later on also, 243D, that for panchayat, it's 1/3 for members and chairperson. But for municipalities, it is not. Okay, fair enough. 39% getting it correct. See, what is Gram Sabha? Gram Sabha is not a governing body. Of course not. Gram Sabha is not an elected body. Gram Sabha means the entire village population which is 18 or above. That is all the registered voters in the area. Okay. And it's not a village assembly of all the people. Kids will not be a part of Gram Sabha. So it's just C, the adult population of the entire village. That is called Gram Sabha. Solve this question. The second last one. Okay, again C and D, exact opposite. So financial emergency, there is no maximum period prescribed. Nothing is mentioned. It is only for the president's rule that the maximum period is 3 years. Right? Repeated parliamentary approval is not required, of course. See, when it comes to repeated parliamentary approval, it is not required. So this is also correct. There is no maximum period. This is also correct. Right answer is C, both 1 and 2. And last question, easy one. Let's hope that this time, 30 seconds, a lot of you mark this answer as correct. Very, very easy. Okay, so Karnataka is a state which does not have a TAC. All the other 3 states have a tribal advisory council, apart from states like Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Uttarakhand. Right answer is Karnataka. I had told you to remember the 10 states names, right, which are under Schedule 5 areas. What is Tribal Advisory Council, TAC? It comes under Schedule 5. Schedule 5 areas. So that's it with respect to our test today. How do you feel? How was your performance? Share some insight. So, Nitesh, Tamil Nadu has TAC. Please hear what the question says and what I am saying. Schedule 5 areas in 7 states plus those 3. Apart from it, TAC in Tamil Nadu, Uttarakhand, and West Bengal. Okay? Anyway, we jump on to spot things, but revision wise. Okay, Dhaval and Yash, very good. 8 correct, 80 points, amazing. Deepak, very decent, yeah, 70. Rani 60, Ravi 60, Amardeep, Sayadri, Avni 50, Arpit, Channabaswa, Gulam, Lekha, Sudhanshu, Rajesh, Shrikant, Ajit, 40, that is 4 correct. And then we have remaining people who have 3 or less correct. So, anyway, so that's it with respect to our discussion. Gayu, sir, today my first, somebody who has joined today, it's okay. I'm referring to the ones who have been studying, and now we have ended our discussion on polity. I don't want to start a Saturday class with scolding you because you're too mature, right? And this is not an offline class. I cannot see you and your reaction, but somebody has to play the tough role, right? I see everyone is always telling you, come on, yes, you can. It's all nice to have positive motivation, but these performances will not help, right? Frankly, who are we putting in, keeping in the dark? Ourselves only. Where is the revision? Even the most basic things. I just pointed out that Tamil Nadu has a TAC and some of you say, no, it does not, right? Karnataka question was wrong. How is it possible? It's disheartening, right? And of course, eventually it will reflect very badly in your examination. Polity is one of the top scoring subjects in prelims examination. So if you cannot score here, it is going to be very challenging to score in other areas. See the past 5-year papers of other topics. Look at history. Look at, say, environment. They are way more difficult to solve, science and tech, than polity. So we need to, gear up, revise more, and be more regular. Okay? And for yes, couple of you, very good performance. So that's amazing. Now, okay, enough of scolding and motivation. Now let's get back to our discussion. See, just one point on revision. It's okay. See, the problem is that now these videos are made available to you, recorded as well. And this I feel is causing a problem because you are now not paying attention in the class. And then when you save these videos and you say, okay, I'll watch it later, that later never comes. Trust me, that later will never come. So please attend the live class and watch the video accordingly. Later on, you can use the recordings for revision. That can be done. But I will also tell you one thing. Rather than sitting for the entire class, right? Rather than sitting for the entire class again, I feel it is more appropriate that you revise on your own. Because see, let's say you attend the class again. Okay. You will have to sit through all the basic things I'll tell you, like this lecture, this gyan. So there is no point. It all boils down to self-studies. If you do not put in your foot down and eventually, Shalu, please contact the target eyes. I'll get you this information. Please put your foot down in terms of revising things, solving more questions. And as far as the preparation is concerned, you have to devote ample time to self-studies. Eventually, it all boils down to self-studies. Anyway, that's all. Let's begin our discussion for the day. Before that, break times, of course, very, very important. So it's Saturday. First break at 1:30, full enjoyment till 1:40. Second break at 3 to 3:40. Okay, 40 minutes only because it's a Saturday. Next break at 5:40 to 6. We will have a break at say 7 to 7:10. This can be an optional break depending on voting. So democracy will decide whether we'll have this break or not. Okay, that's it for the breaks. Let's now move on and discuss our topics for the day. Now, please focus on the topic, ignore all things. I find that a lot of you focus on a lot of irrelevant things than the class. So eventually that will not help. Bickering about things, trying to find some issues, these will only waste your time. Trust me on this. Lakhs of people have been wasting time for a long period of time in getting involved in these petty issues. Your task is to come here, study, and revise. Don't uselessly take up some kind of case, some kind of scenario. Don't get trapped in petty issues in life right now. You are meant for bigger things in life. Come on. Okay. Now, previous class we discussed Article 14, the group of rights, the right to equality, 14 to 18. Remember, Article 14 that talked about equality before law and also equal protection of laws. So now we'll discuss Article 15, which talks about prohibition of discrimination on certain grounds. So I believe a lot of you must have seen this movie also, Article 15, starring Ayushmann Khurrana. So as far as Article 15 is concerned, it says prohibition of discrimination. One more thing. There are a lot of fundamental rights in our country, in our constitution, which are only available to Indian citizens, not to foreigners. So, rights, or rather let us write fundamental rights, FR, fundamental rights which are available only to citizens. These rights are Article 15, 16, 19, 29, and 30. Please repeat with me. 15, 16, 19, 29, and 30. These 5 fundamental rights are available only to Indian citizens. Other rights are available to everyone. So foreigners cannot claim this Article 15. Now, what is Article 15? Clause 1 says, the state shall not discriminate. Negative obligation on the state. That state, you cannot discriminate. And what is state? Article 12. against any citizen. Look at this word. As I said, state will not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of, only, only on these grounds, not on other grounds. Religion, race, caste, sex meaning gender, and place of birth. So on these grounds, the state will not discriminate against you, meaning the state can discriminate against you on other grounds. Does it not? Yes, it does. Example, age, UPSC. An 18-year-old kid cannot sit for UPSC. State is discriminating. Uh, Voting, a 15-year-old cannot vote. State is discriminating. Or lot of things like, say, educational qualification. In case you want to be a civil servant, you have to have a graduation degree. We are discriminating. So discrimination on these grounds, this is allowed. Only on these grounds, not allowed. Are you clear? But then a very valid question can also be asked from you, that the state does not discriminate on grounds of sex, meaning gender. But then we also have government schools, government college for girls, gender discrimination. So tomorrow, should we start protesting now? Let's go and protest, right? That how dare you discriminate? Why only government college for girls, government school for girls? Discrimination, gender. Yes, it is not discrimination, because in the same Article 15, there is a provision, clause 3. This provision actually allows for that discrimination. So this says, nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. So basically, this is allowing the state to make special provision for women and children. Okay. So yes, it is a discrimination, but the discrimination is allowed under Article 15, clause 3. I hope this point is clear. So sex, there could be a discrimination. The state can make special provisions for women subject to Article 15, clause 3. Now, moving on to, this is where the state will not discriminate. Next, this is where other citizens or other people will not discriminate. No citizen shall, on grounds of the same. What grounds? On grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. No citizen shall, on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them, be subject to any disability, any liability, any restriction, or any condition. You will not prevent somebody, disable them from doing something. You will not make them liable to do something. You will not restrict them. You will not impose conditions on them. For what? To access shops, public restaurants, hotels, places of public entertainment, etc. Use of wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, places of public resort, etc., etc. Any place which is meant for the general use of public, you cannot discriminate any citizen on grounds of RRCSP. What is RRCSP? Remember these 5 things with this simple abbreviation, RRCSP. Religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Okay. This is there. So this is Article 15, Clause 1, Clause 2, and Clause 3. Are we clear on this? Everyone, thumbs up if you are clear, and then I'll ask you some questions on your opinion. Okay. Now, please mark the answer in the poll, yes or no. Simple question. You know, when you go to some pubs, if you have ever gone to a club, rather, not a pub, but a club where you have a dance floor and stuff, you'll find that in certain clubs, they won't allow you with slippers. They will allow only, they'll allow you with shoes only. Or sometimes in some five-star hotels, in their lobbies and all, they don't allow in certain areas you without proper dress code. Sometimes blazers are required, etc. So forcing people to wear shoes mandatorily, or discriminating people who are not wearing shoes from entry into a general place where everybody else is allowed, like a club, a pub, etc., does it violate Article 15? Yes or no? A for yes, B for no. Tell me. Very good, yeah. No, of course. Of course not. Now give me reason, please. Write the reason. Why is it not discrimination? Okay, Nitin, Ambika, very good, excellent. No, Avani, not a states. That's not a point. Even others can't discriminate. That's not the argument here. Private entities also are covered under Article 15, Clause 2. So even a private entity cannot discriminate. The point is RRCSP. Here the discrimination is only on dress code. RRCSP does not cover dress. It's only RRCSP. Just focus on these 5 things. Okay? Secondly, this is the reason. Secondly, one more simple question. So we must have experienced this personally also, or in other situations, that sometime when you want to get a flat on rent, we see all these cases on Reddit and Quora, people writing all these things that, no, I went to get a flat on rent, but I was told, sorry, you can't get a flat on rent. Why? Because you are a Hindu or you are a Muslim. If, let us say, you are a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever, and somebody denies you a flat on rent, which is otherwise allowed for everybody else, then tell me, is this violation of Article 15? Yes or no? A for yes, B for no. Of course, it is discrimination. Why is it discrimination? If everybody is allowed in a general place, why is it discrimination? Because of religion. You are not, you are allowing anyone to come and stay. You are willing to lend out your flat to anyone, rent it out to anyone, but not to somebody based on his religion, right? RRCSP. One more thing that is very typical that you feel, that you would experience. Sometime when you go and want to get a flat, the owner asks you, are you a non-vegetarian? And when you say, yes, yes, I'm a pure non-vegetarian, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, and then they say, sorry, get lost immediately. Is that discrimination? Article 15, yes or no? A for yes, B for no. Of course not. That is not discrimination. Why? Because it is food habit. Discrimination has to be on RRCSP. Again, please apply RRCSP. If RRCSP is not getting violated directly, then it is not discrimination. Sorry. Are we clear on this? Now, one more simple question. The last one, and then we'll move forward. This is actually a true story. So this happened, let's not name the city also. Why to name the city? The city was okay, it's some people who misbehave and do things like this. In some city in this country, it's a very, I mean, decently reputed city, a very big city. In one city, it was found that, you know, all these kids who beg on the red light, near the red light area, these streets, these kids who beg, these kids had collected some money, and they now wanted to get this money and use it to purchase some fast food, some pizza, burger, whatever they wanted to purchase. So they went to this food shop, this food chain, which food chain, ignore it, but they went to this food chain, and the owner of the food chain did not allow those kids entry. Okay, tell me, discriminating those kids into entering a place which is use of general public, shop, public restaurant, etc., is that discrimination on the grounds of Article 15? Yes or no? A for yes, B for no. Okay, interesting. All those say yes, please tell me why. Let's see what is your reason. What ground? Which ground of Article 15 is violated? Let me see. Race? How do you know the race of the person? They're all Indians. This is wrong. No, or on what ground is it wrong? Caste? You don't know their caste. How would the manager know their caste? Place of birth? Or are you trying to find some ground? What place of birth? They're all born in India only. How do you know somebody's place of birth without getting information on the birth certificate? What is place of birth? It does not mean hospital or some location. It means the area, the region. It's okay, they're getting discrimination on the basis of being poor. I am asking you what ground of Article 15. You tell me the ground of Article 15. Don't tell me other things. Which ground of Article 15? Race, physical appearance. I mean, are we trying to create points here uselessly? That was not discrimination on Article 15 actually. Okay. So this is where you have to be legally very appropriate. On an emotional argument, that is wrong. It is immoral. Why did we discriminate against those kids? But if you, because it's a legal class, you have to understand the legality of it, right? So legally, it was not discrimination under Article 15. Maybe physical hygiene, right? Maybe dressing. So these things are not covered here, okay? These things are not covered under Article 15. So it was not a violation of Article 15, Clause 1 or Clause 2, because Clause 2 also makes the exact same thing, RRCSP, right? So neither Clause 2 nor Clause 1 was violated. So please don't get angry as to what happened. It's okay. I mean, yes, those people were completely stupid in not allowing those kids. It was morally wrong, but Article 15 is not violated. Are we clear on this point? So you have to be very, very clear that Article 15's violation only takes place on RRCSP, not on other grounds. Other grounds can be a moral dilemma, but not violation of fundamental rights. Legality has to be understood. Okay. Now, this used to be Article 15 originally. Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3. Now coming to the history of reservation in educational institutions in the country. So where did this begin? The reservation policy in our country was already there, to be very frank. It was already there. So in our country, before independence only, we had the case of Madras province. So in Madras province, there was a government order which used to function. This government order was actually called a communal government order before independence. And here, under this government order, seats were reserved in these engineering and medical colleges. For admissions, seats were reserved. 6 seats for non-Brahmins, 2 seats for backward classes, 2 seats for Brahmins, 2 seats for scheduled caste, one for Muslim, one for Christian, two for Anglo-Indians. So seats were reserved. Seats reserved in colleges based on religion and caste. So this matter went to Supreme Court. Why? Because there was this lady called Champakam Durai Ranjan, and she had cleared the examination, but she could not. She was from the Brahmin community, and she cleared the examination that as far as the uh, her selection was concerned, she could not be selected because two seats for Brahmins were already occupied. And even though she had gotten way more marks than other people, she was not denied, or she was denied the seat because the Brahmin quota was filled. So she approached the courts, finally Supreme Court, and Supreme Court took up this matter. So there is a fundamental right. We'll discuss that later on. Look at this right. This is the right. It's very easy to understand. Article 29, Clause 2. It says, no citizen shall be discriminated or shall be denied admission into any educational institution maintained by the state or receiving aid, money out of state funds. So no citizen will be denied entry or admission into those schools or colleges which are either maintained by state or which are getting funds from the state on grounds only of religion, race, caste, language, or any of them. So now think of this Madras government's order. What was it saying? Reserving seats on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion. Supreme Court said this government order is wrong, and Supreme Court in the Champakam Dorai Ranjan case cancelled the quota. Quota in educational institutions was struck down on account of violation of article, which article? 29 clause 2. That this is violating the provisions of article 29 clause 2. Now, when the Supreme Court gave this judgment, the Parliament immediately modified the Constitution, and through its very first Amendment Act, the Parliament added one clause. One more clause was added, which was Article 15, Clause 4. What is this Clause 4? So the Parliament said that we will provide special provisions for three groups. So this particular provision said that irrespective of whatever is mentioned, it says notwithstanding, in spite of whatever is mentioned in Article 15 or Article 29 Clause 2, the state can make special provisions for three communities: scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and socially and educationally backward classes. You call them as OBCs normally, but the Constitution refers to them as SEBC, socially and educationally backward class. So from today onwards, you will also refer to the OBC community in your answers as SEBC. That sounds more appropriate, legally more sound. So socially and educationally backward classes. This is the origin of reservation in educational institutions in the country. The First Amendment Act adding Article 15 Clause 4. Please repeat with me. The First Amendment Act 1951 added Article 15 Clause 4, which provided reservations for SCs, STs, and SEBCs in all government schools and colleges. Okay. So now, because of this particular provision, a lot of these states started providing reservations, making reservations in schools and colleges. So we found that this caused a unique problem. The problem was that lot of these state governments started imposing reservation even in private schools and colleges. That was not allowed because reservation could only be imposed in government schools and colleges. Now, what happens is there is one more article. Read this second one. This article is Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause G. We'll discuss this tomorrow, hopefully, or today only. This article says all citizens have right to practice any profession or carry on any occupation, any trade, or any business. POTB. That is what we call it commonly. You have every right to carry on any profession, any occupation, any trade, any business. Now, if I run a school, that is my trade, my business, my profession. If the government tells me, please, mandatory admission of SC/STs, why? Why should I? It's my private school or college. Who are you to force me? Right? So, this was not allowed. And we saw the state governments imposing reservation. People went to court saying that, sir, this is wrong. So Supreme Court in the PA Inamdar judgment cancelled this also, saying no, sorry, this nonsense is not allowed. Quota in unaided. What do you mean by unaided? Unaided refers to those colleges which do not receive government funds. They are called unaided. So quotas in unaided schools and colleges was cancelled because it violates Article 19(1)(g) firstly. Yes or no? This one, POTB. It also violates Article 14. How does it violate Article 14? Remember, second part of Article 14, equal protection of laws. There are two tests. Test 1, intelligible differentia. Test 2, when you classify, there should be a sufficient or reasonable link between the objective and the classification exercise. So here these schools said that how can you treat government school and private school equally? So basically the question was that the grouping was wrong. Treating government school and private school in the same fashion, in a similar manner, is wrong. Like you cannot treat a rich person and a poor person in terms of income tax in the same fashion. That is why. Here also Article 14 was getting violated. So 1419 was violated. Supreme Court cancelled these quotas. But again, yet again, the parliament modified the constitution, added one more article called Article 15, Clause 5, and this article says what? This article says that government can make provisions for SEBCs in any school or college. Whether, look at this line, whether aided or unaided other than minority educational institutions, MEI, except MEI, meaning those schools or colleges which are maintained by minorities. Apart from that, the government can impose or the parliament can make provisions to impose reservation in any school or college. Okay, so this is with respect to Article 15, Clause 5, which was added to the 93rd Amendment Act 2005. This was the reservation provision which was added in the constitution as far as education is concerned. I hope this point is clear. So we have, this is a reservation in educational institutions. Yes, Nitesh, madrasas come under MEIs, of course. See, now why madrasas only? You will be surprised if I tell you the figure. In our country, there are, I don't know the current figure, but when this question was raised in the parliament in 2019, the government gave a response. In our country, there are 13,555 minority educational institutions. For those who are in Andhra Pradesh, Guru Nanak Technical Institutions, St. Mary's Women's College, Jamia Hamdard, people in Gujarat, Christ Institute of Management, people in Karnataka, St. Joseph's College, people in Kerala, Vijay Jyoti Engineering College. All these are under minorities. They're all minority educational institutions, right? There are 13,500 of them. So many of them are there, no problem. Anyway, I hope this point is clear. So this is the reservation in educational institutions. So we have what percentage for SCs? 15% seats are reserved for scheduled castes, 7.5% reserved for scheduled tribes based on their population percentage also. For SEBCs or OBC, this is OBC, we have 27%. Economically weaker section. See, persons with disabilities, it's a mandatory reservation of 4%. And under this also, this reservation varies. So basically what happens, if you look at this reservation, you will find that there is subcategorization. Categorization in the sense that 1% for people who are visually challenged, 1% for people with locomotor disability, movement disability, 1% for deaf and dumb, etc. Right? So visually challenged, locomotor disability, etc. This is what is called horizontal reservation. What is horizontal? Reservation within reservation. Reservation inside reservation. Horizontal reservation. Are they clear? Okay. Now coming to the case in 2019. So in 2019, what happened? The government modified the constitution yet again with its 103rd Amendment Act, adding one more article. This was Article 15, Clause 6, and said that we will now provide reservation to economically weaker section. This is the reservation given to the EWS category. I hope this point is clear. And how much reservation? Up to 10% reservation. And who will classify EWS? Central government will notify from time to time what will be the indicators. So there are a lot of indicators. If you have land above a certain limit in rural areas, land above a certain limit in urban areas, then family income of 8 lakh rupees or above, all these things will put you under non-EWS category. So people who have income less than 8 lakh rupees, they would be placed under economically weaker section. What is the criteria? Basis, family income, that's the basis, and other indicators like land ownership. You don't need to know all those categories of indicators. If you want to, you can Google search for it. Otherwise, one basic information is that the income is actually rupees, less than rupees 8 lakhs. That should be the income. 8 lakh rupees. If you remember, we were studying NALSA. There the poverty level was 1 lakh rupees. But here poverty level is 8 lakh rupees. How is this correct? How can we have such a disparity in the poverty levels? But anyway, that's for governments to decide. Who are we to raise all these issues and concerns? Now, this is Article 15. We are done with Article 15. Moving on to Article 16. See, Article 15 is something you are no longer interested in because all of you have passed your college. So it does not interest you. What interests you is Article 16 basically. Because Article 16 is about equality of opportunity in public employment, government jobs, right? That is what interests you now, right? So again, clause 1 says, and mind you, this article is also meant for only citizens. So clause 1 says that there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens in matters relating to employment or appointment to any office under the state. So under the state, you will be given equal opportunity of employment or appointment. So any government job, no discrimination. Okay, state meaning article 12, no problem. Apart from it, the second clause also clearly says no discrimination will be done by the state in matters of employment or office under the state on grounds only on these grounds: religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, same RRCSP, that's the same. Two more things. Descent. What is the meaning of descent? Descent means nationality, the family's origin, the background, hereditary succession, that means descent. Okay. The family background in terms of its origin or nationality. Okay, and also residence, that is the place where you live, domicile. Now I hope you understand that in case of your school college, if you have been to most of these colleges, there is some reservation. Some seats for Tamil Nadu, some seats for Bihar, some for Rajasthan, some for Delhi, some for UP. Remember? Quota for every state. The same thing is not there for jobs. Why? Because in schools, there is no limit. There is no ground of what? Residence. Residence is not a ground mentioned here. So, residence discrimination is allowed. But when it comes to your government jobs, then residence cannot be a ground of discrimination, meaning the government cannot say you belong to this particular area, so we will not give you, or if you belong to this area, some special benefits for you. Now you may say, but sir, it is there in some states, there is reservation in local jobs. Of course. How are we having these reservations in these state governments, say Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, etc., in government jobs? It is allowed because Parliament is allowed to make a law. Article 16, Clause 3 says that Parliament can make provisions for reservation on the basis of residence. State government cannot do it. Parliament can do it. Are we clear? Normally, the state will not treat people differently based on where they reside. Normally, the state will not treat people differently based on where they live for government jobs. But if the parliament wants, it can make a law and decide and treat people differently. It is possible. It has done also. For Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, there is Article 371D, which provides for local reservation. In Karnataka and Hyderabad region, that is Article 371J. You will see that for those districts of Kalyan, Karnataka, some seats are reserved in the government jobs. For Maharashtra and Gujarat, it's Article 371. For Schedule 6 areas, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram, you have reservation. So it is there. Parliament can do it. States cannot do it. So this is basically Article 16, Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3. But one very important judgment also is there of Supreme Court. So Supreme Court has been very, very vocal and very, very clear on this concept of reservation based on residence. Residence based reservation. So what is that? Supreme Court had said Way back in 1984 only, in a very popular case, the Pradeep Jain case, which is always quoted, it is very clear that policy of reserving jobs for locals is ultra vires the constitution. Policy of reserving jobs for locals is ultra vires the constitution. What is ultra vires? We had seen this word under under governor also. Ultra vires means outside the scope of, beyond the scope of the constitution. Okay. So this is with respect to Supreme Court. Very clear cut judgment. In fact, I'll tell you a very interesting situation that in 1995, Andhra Pradesh government had come up with a very unique concept. They said all those people whose medium of instruction is Telugu in their examination, they will be given 5% extra marks. Okay, 5% extra marks. Supreme Court cancelled this provision in the Sunanda Reddy case. This is there. In the Kailash Chandra Verma case, this judgment has been upheld again and again that states are not allowed to make reservation in government jobs for local people. Without center's approval, you cannot do it. Parliament has to do it. And despite this, you will find that lot of states have now gone ahead and they are making reservation in private sector. Maharashtra, in fact, states like Haryana have made it. Recently, only the matter is pending in the court. Gujarat made it in 1995, 85%, which was struck down. Maharashtra made it in 2008, 80% reservation for Group C, Group D kind of jobs. In MP, it was made 70%. Andhra Pradesh, 75%. Karnataka tried. All these reservations have been cancelled by the courts. Without center permission, you cannot make reservations for locals. Okay. Now, one more thing. Despite this, how are states able to get around this? States use a very interesting argument. See, what states will do is they will use language as a criteria. You will not discriminate on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth, residence. But if I want to hire somebody, I will say this is the examination paper. The exam will only be conducted in Bengali, only in Tamil, only in Hindi, only in Malayalam. Now, if the exam is only in Malayalam, you please tell me how can a person from Assam write the examination? No idea. If the exam is only in Hindi, how can a Tamilian write this examination? So sometimes for the lower jobs, you will see Group C, Group D jobs, this is what states do. Maharashtra has this, language fluency is required. Tamil Nadu has this, language fluency is required. West Bengal has this. And this is right also. See, we are not talking about UPSC jobs or SPSC jobs. We are talking about Group C jobs, Group D jobs, clerical posts. Understand, the clerical staff are called frontline staff. They are called street level bureaucracy. They have to interact with public on a daily basis. So if you don't know the local language, it is going to be very challenging for you to perform your tasks. So it's okay. So states use language as a criteria to provide reservation for locals. It's a very interesting concept. I'll just mention it here. States use language to provide reservation for local population. Okay, that's there. Yes, Sudhanshu. Anyone, anywhere. Shalu, residence means domicile. Shalu, residence and domicile are slightly different. Residence would refer to this concept of you living somewhere for a certain period of time. That is what we call as temporary living. And when it comes to domicile, domicile means where you belong to your permanent home. So, but they are used interchangeably, so it's okay. In legal parlance, this is a slight difference, but they are freely used interchangeably in a regular course of events. Anyway, so this is Article 16, Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3. I hope this point is clear. And now comes the point which is actually the cause of concern for local. Pop means population here. Come on, population. Okay, my bad. Population. Full satisfaction. Now comes a provision which is largely something that is a cause of concern for a lot of people here, I am suppose, or otherwise also. This is the article, this is the clause which provides reservation in government jobs. So if you are ever asked, where is it mentioned reservation? This is the article, and this article was not some modification. It was added right at the commencement of the constitution. This article was a part of the original constitution also. Article 16 clause 4. This is where you have reservation in the country. Okay. This article allows the state to make special provisions for certain people who the state feels are not adequately represented in government jobs. If the state feels that certain people are not adequately represented in government jobs, then the state can make reservations for those categories of people. State can make reservations in favor of backward classes if they are not adequately represented in the government jobs, in the opinion of the state, and they are not adequately represented. Okay, that's there. Now, before we begin our discussion on reservation and other related matters, let me ask you a point. Let's take a poll. There is no right, no wrong here. Feel free. How many of you feel that reservation is okay? It should be there. And how many feel reservation should not be there? A for yes reservation, B for no reservation. Okay, a lot of you believe in reservation, others are refraining from expressing their point. Abhinav, adequately represented is not defined anywhere, but ideally we want that there should be proportional element involved. If let's say scheduled caste people are 15% of the total population, they should also command 15% posts in government job. That is called adequate representation, sufficient representation. Okay. Nitesh, sir, then we have to choose if asked who makes reservation. Uh, See, who makes reservation? As far as reservations are concerned, it is a center which makes reservation. States are also allowed to make reservation pertaining to government jobs. Center and states both are allowed to make reservations for people who they feel are not adequately represented, because here state refers to both central government and the state government. Sakshi, local people included in this. Entire country is included in this. Everybody. Okay. Now, herein comes the point of understanding the reservation in the country. So, in our country, reservation is basically known as, or we can call it quota, we can call it special provision, we can call it reservation, we can call it affirmative action. Okay, everything It's all a part of reservation. Okay. So affirmative action is a term coined by the US President John F. Kennedy. JFK coined this term, affirmative action. Now, in our country, the reservation concept comes from, of course, Dr. Ambedkar. So, for reservation, when discussions were going on, when the constitution was being made, the discussions were going on as to what should be the right approach. So, one was the Gandhian approach. So, Gandhiji believed in change of heart. Gandhiji believed in change of heart. He said there is no need to make any reservation. Let there be no reservation. Why? Because these upper caste people who have been committing atrocities against the lower castes for long period of time, they will slowly and steadily realize their mistakes. They will have a change of heart, and then we'll find that they start treating the lower caste people equally, and then we will not need reservation. So no need to make any provision. Let us wait for these upper caste oppressors to have a change of heart. Now the problem is, why would someone who is getting a benefit of something ever feel the need to share the power? Has it ever happened? And why should somebody be at the mercy of some other people that, oh, when he or she improves, then I'll have a better life? Till then, suffer. It was not a very sound logical suggestion. Ambedkar responded with his own argument. Ambedkar's approach was very simple. He had a more secular approach. Ambedkar's approach was with respect to having provisions in the constitution for reservation. He said, we want legal provisions in the constitution. Legal provisions. And it was because of efforts of Ambedkar that we have Article 16, Clause 4. Okay, that's there. Now, in our country, primarily we have reservation for three categories of people: for scheduled castes, for scheduled tribes, and for SEBC, that is other backward classes, not castes. We don't add PWD. What is PWD? Persons with disabilities. So we automatically give them reservation. Now, coming to uh, how to identify these categories. What is the criteria to identify a reservation? Sakshi, Ambedkar said that reservation should be removed when a trial woman get high level job. How are we quoting Ambedkar randomly like this? Ambedkar never said this. What Ambedkar said was that reservations should ideally be only for a small, hear me out please, before you jump onto any conclusion, just hear me out peacefully. Ambedkar said that reservation should be ideally meant for a small period of time. So his suggestion was have reservations only for initially 10 years, right? After 10 years, conduct a detailed survey. If you find that sufficient number of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes have had an improvement in their life, their status, they are in government jobs, sufficient number of, in proportion, then remove reservation in politics at the top. After 10 more years, again conduct surveys, remove reservation in government jobs, then colleges and schools. That was his suggestion. He never said that if a single person goes to some post, let's remove reservation. This seems more like this WhatsApp forward. So this is what he said. That is what is called the top-down approach of Ambedkar. Removing reservation from the top, from politics, from promotions, jobs, colleges, schools. Top-down approach. But that had to be done after detailed survey of improvement of life. Where is the survey? Anyway, so we'll come to that. Now, first things first, who are the scheduled caste people? Who are STs and who are these SEBCs or OBCs? We'll discuss them one by one. So, starting with scheduled caste. Uh, Very important. Scheduled castes are basically, or the identification is done as per Article 341 of the Indian Constitution. So, as per Article 341, the President will publish the list. Okay. And the Parliament is going to make periodic amendments. Any addition or deletion of names in the list, that is going to be done by the Parliament. Okay. And what is the list called? The list is called Constitution Scheduled Caste Order 1950. This is the list. And let me also remind you on a very important element. Scheduled caste people can only belong to three religions: Hindu, Sikh, or Buddhist. Muslims cannot be scheduled castes. Christians cannot be scheduled castes. Okay? Only these three religions have scheduled caste. So if you convert, let's say I am a scheduled caste person and I am, say, a Hindu. If I convert to Islam, I will lose my SC status. So I lose any government benefit that comes to scheduled caste people. Are we clear? Scheduled caste people are only for these three religions. Now you'll say, sir, why? What is this? There's a reason for it. The reason is who are scheduled caste people. You have to understand the concept of scheduled caste. So, this identification, how to identify who are scheduled caste people, there are basically two criteria. One criteria is that these people should have been facing, or they may have faced some kind of what? Untouchability. Either untouchability either through touch or through proximity. Second criteria is that these communities were denied, denial of temple entry. Now, how did you find out this untouchability criteria? So, this is what is the required information. That's it. This information is sufficient. Now, just to give you additional information on what exactly is the situation and how did it come up with this, in 1931, there was a committee formed by the British government, which was called the John Henry Hutton Committee, after the name of Henry Hutton or John Henry Hutton. So that committee was called Hutton Committee. Hutton Committee gave a report in 1931. Basically, this report was published in 1933. This was a Hutton Committee report. Hutton Committee's task was to identify people in the country who were belonging to various castes. So basically, they were conducting something called a caste census. Caste census. Now, while conducting this caste census, it also came to their notice that they were, so basically they had these names, lines. Okay, in this column, place all Brahman castes, all Kshatriya castes, etc. So you remember we have these four varnas. Four varna, the Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These are four varna. Varna is based on duty. It's the duty of the Brahmin to spread information. It's a duty of the Kshatriya to protect the subjects, etc. The Hutton Committee found that there were certain communities which were not a part of these four varna system. He called them exterior or depressed classes. Exterior caste. People who were not even considered to be a part of the fourfold system. And he tried to identify them and place them in a separate schedule. What is schedule? Schedule means a list, and hence the name scheduled castes. Okay, that's why the name scheduled caste. Now, how did he identify them? Same thing, untouchability and denial of temple entry, which we use even till date. So our source of identification is based on Hutton Committee report. Now, what is this untouchability and how did this come into picture? So, untouchability is Indic in origin. Indic, Indian in origin. How? So, what used to happen was, see, this was a result of largely marriage alliances. So, think of this as a boy, girl, boy, girl. These are people of the upper one and they are of the lower one. Okay. Now you know very well, marriage between boy of same one and with a girl is fully justified. But if a boy of upper one married a girl of lower one, there was no problem. These marriages were accepted in the society. This was called anulom marriage. Natural. But the marriage between a boy of lower one and a girl of upper one, this was not accepted and called pratilom marriage. Pratilom, against nature. This was not allowed. Now, how do you prevent people from marrying like this? If I belong to upper one community and a girl from my community gets married to a lower one boy, how do I prevent this? I will start dissuading people. Let's say some girl gets married. I will force other people also to socially ostracize them, outcast them, throw them out of the village, treat them as untouchables. This was the origin of untouchability. The kids born out of pratilo marriages called chandals. This was the origin of untouchability. And there have been various forms of untouchability which have existed, of course, over the years, over centuries. And for example, in some cases, or in most cases, they would not be touched. They are not allowed to enter houses. They were not allowed to use the main roads. Sometime it was found that when somebody from the scheduled caste community is there, he had to tie a broom around his waist, and when he walked, the broom would sweep the street, and then the street would become clean. Or else, if he walks on the street, and what if a Brahmin touches the same soil which has been touched by the untouchable, the Brahmin gets polluted. The concept of pollution. Or in some cases, we found that the scheduled caste people were forced into carrying a vessel around their neck, a pot, and when they walked, if any spit fell, it would fall in the vessel, not on the ground. Because if a spit from the mouth of untouchable fell on the ground, and what if some upper one person stepped on it? Then what would happen? Polluted. These kind of atrocities were committed on certain groups of people for more than 2000 years. And not just this, I'll give you an example of what even Ambedkar was very upset about. So people who are from Tamil Nadu, they will know Tirunelveli. So Tirunelveli is a place which was originally called Tinnevelly, and Britishers pronounced it as Tinne Valley. So in the Tinnevelly district in Madras province, there was a community called Puradavannans. Okay, this was a community called Puradavannans. These communities were not allowed to come out in the daytime. Why? Because it was said that if an upper caste person even saw them, that upper caste person would get polluted. He would have to take bath again. And because of that, these groups of people were not allowed to come out of the house during daytime. They lived outside the villages in caves and could only come out at night. And there was this article written in the Hindu in 1932, I think 24th of December 1932, this article was published, which said that these people, the Puradavannans, are not allowed to come out during daytime because their sight is enough to cause pollution. And they have to leave their dens at dark and scuttle back home before dawn, like a badger, like a rodent, like a mouse. How these animals run back home before the dawn, the morning. We have treated certain people in this fashion also. What equality are we talking about? And for hundreds of years. Okay. And Ambedkar actually, in one of his speeches, using this article, he quoted that no civilization can be guilty of greater cruelty to its own people. This was a reality. Or in the princely state of Travancore, there used to be this tax called Mulakkaram. So I believe all of you are adults here. So Mulakkaram was a tax which was called breast tax, meaning people of the scheduled caste communities, the women in the communities were not allowed to cover their breasts in public. They had to pay a tax for it. And then you have this legendary story of Nanjali, which is very popular in Kerala. So people from Kerala would know the legend of Nanjali. Now, see, as far as this breast tax is concerned, there is some debate on it. A lot of the old historians believe that this was there, but the modern historians, like say Manu S. Pillai and all, they say that it was not a breast tax, it was just a tax on the scheduled caste people. Breast tax or not, we are putting people treating them in such inhuman fashion. Even till date, this is the reality. The amount of atrocities they face, wherever they go. I mean, we all want our latrines to be cleaned, but we'll call who? A scheduled caste person. That's what we did for 2000 years, right? So scheduled caste people were not allowed to enter somebody's house like this. So if I'm a scheduled caste person, you won't allow me to enter the house like this. But if I have to remove, if there's some dead animal in the house, then you call me to remove it. If you have to clean your latrines, then you call me to remove it. Then it is okay. Even till date, more than 99% people who are manual scavengers are scheduled caste people, and remaining are tribal people. 99%. 70% of the people who are Safai Karmcharis are actually still Dalits. This was the atrocity for 2000 years. Nitesh, 200 years back, we did not have plumbers, right? We only had these people. We did not have functional toilets. So you would not know this, but till 100 years back, you would have pits where the pits had to be cleared out on a regular basis. And how? Somebody had to go inside the pit, take out that dump excreta on his head, carry, throw it outside, come back again, take that out again, and clear it. And that pit contained excreta for say 10-15 days of the people of the house. This was done by a certain group of people who are just for 70-80 years getting a small token benefit of some government job. And then we get upset, oh, too much of reservation is there. NCRB data of 2021 suggests that there's a crime committed against a Dalit every 10 minutes. Every day, 10 Dalit women are raped. In 2015, this was 20. And that is only when the reporting is being done. A lot of these people do not even report out of fear. Okay? The Hindu upper caste families, which are very small in number, they hold 41% of the wealth in the country. The combined assets of all the scheduled castes, all the scheduled tribes, is just 11.3% in the country. What is the equality? There was a survey conducted by NCIR. NCIR is the National Council of Applied Economic Research, Indian Human Development Survey. 2 questions were asked in the survey. Question number 1, will you let a scheduled caste person enter your kitchen? Yes or no? Will you or any person in your family? And number 2, will you or anyone in your family allow a scheduled caste person to use utensils or not? Now, the point here was asking people on this information, yes, no, yes, no. 30% of the Hindus said we can't allow a scheduled caste person. 35% Jains said it. More than half the people in MP said no, we can't allow SC person to enter our kitchen. Right? In total, 30% rural people, 20% urban people said this. Where is the equality? There was a survey called Social Attitudes Research India, where a question was asked that should there be a law in our country which should prevent upper caste and lower caste people from marrying each other? Should there be a law to prevent intercaste marriage? In Mumbai, financial capital, 27% men said yes, there should be a law. In Delhi, 40% adults said yes, there should be a law. In Rajasthan, 60% rural adults said yes, there should be a law. Where is the equality? There is no equality. And then we are so angry and upset at, oh, for 70 years we have reservation. How many seats? How many seats are being given? As if, and rest 10 lakh people are upset because 15 seats belong to scheduled caste people. And that too, you have to score marks. The difference between the marks cutoff in the main for SC person and the general category was 42 marks. 700 for SC, 742 for general category. It's not that they get free entry, right? So it's very sad that most people believe like this. Of course, it's okay. People in general don't understand facts, don't they have low perception of all these things, so it's fully justified what they feel. But we have to change this. So this is the origin of untouchability, and because this practice was there only in Hinduism and the religions which are in India, hence other community religions like say, for example, you have Christianity and Islam, they cannot claim it. In fact, the conversions that the Christians and Islamic people do to scheduled caste is based on this only, that you have been treated bad, join my religion. How can you claim it? You can't claim it. Sorry. There are petitions in the court right now that even an SC from Christian community should be given the benefit. It makes no sense. Christians cannot have a scheduled caste person. This community belongs to, it is a result of atrocities committed in one particular Indic religion. Other religions can't claim it. They want this benefit because, see, as of now, if I'm an SC person, if I convert, the problem is I lose all the benefits. Okay. That is why I will be very hesitant in converting. So somebody comes to me and says, sir, you convert. Don't tell people, don't convert officially. Right now, this is what is happening. Later on, what will happen once this is approved? People can freely convert. So what's the point? The point should be to elevate the status, not to go from Hinduism to Christianity and Christianity to Islam and Islam to Judaism, Judaism to Sikhism. That is not going to be the case. I'm not here doing religion hopping everywhere. So that's there. This is how scheduled caste people are identified. Let's take a break. After break, we look into the identification of scheduled tribes, very easy, and SEBCs. Break, please. Be back at 1:45. Yes, Shalu, that is correct. Sorry, 1:55. My bad. 1:55. Welcome back, guys. So we are discussing about scheduled castes, now scheduled tribes. So let's take one more slide. Scheduled tribe, it's very easy. And here, the important point to note is that scheduled tribes can belong to any religion. So they can be Hindus, Muslims, Christians, etc. So this is how do you say, a religion neutral category or a community, unlike the scheduled castes. So this is with respect to Article 341, sorry, 342. Right. Now, one more point. When it comes to scheduled tribes, exact same provision. The president makes the list. President will publish the list, and Parliament will make what? Modifications. Right? Apart from this, we also know what's the list called. Same thing. List is called Constitution Scheduled Tribes Order 1950. This is the list where you'll find the names of all the scheduled tribes of the country state-wise. Okay. Now, what is the criteria? Before that, one thing, identification done by Anthropological Survey of India. And when it comes to the criteria, there are two criteria. One is isolated groups, communities which have been living in isolation, and communities which are vulnerable. This is the criteria to identify scheduled tribes, and this is a religion neutral group. Okay, so it is not based on religion. Finally, we have the socially and educationally backward classes. This is under Article 342, capital A. Okay. Now, important. As far as the SEBCs are concerned, one very important element is that they can have or the states and center can have separate list. Separate list for center and states. That is why sometimes you may belong to an OBC community in your state, but you will not be getting the benefit of OBC at the central level, because you may belong to the list of OBC in your state, but at the central level, no such benefit possible. Now, that is why this list is published by the president in consultation with governor. Okay. Then the criteria. So what is the criteria? There is a four-fold criteria. Criteria number 1, low social position. Number 2, second criteria, lack of general educational advancement. Third criteria, inadequate representation in government jobs. And lastly, inadequate representation in trade, commerce, industry. These are the four-fold criteria, and they are also religion neutral. Okay. This is with respect to the SEBCs, the socially and educationally backward classes and their identification. I hope this point is clear and is understood by everyone. Okay. Now, moving on to understanding. Yes, Nitish. Article 342A list is published by center, but states can have their own list, and the list of the state will be published by the president in consultation with governor. That's it. I do not repeat that. The point is the same. Now, as far as the constitution is concerned, see, constitution only provides for reservation, that you can make reservation. But who was getting reservation? Initially, in fact, for a long period of time, only SCs and STs got reservation in education till 2005, because it was only in 2005 that the OBC enjoyed reservation in schools and colleges, right? And even in government jobs, initially OBCs did not have reservation in government jobs. Let me repeat this statement again. Initially, OBCs did not enjoy a reservation in government jobs, right? The reservation in government jobs came much later in 1990s. So, the idea of reserving seats in government jobs is based on this very important factor, that the state has to find out whether that group is actually represented in government jobs or not. Let's say in the country, we have, say, 30% OBCs. And if out of 100 IAS officers, only 2 are OBCs. This means the OBCs are not adequately represented. So we have to collect data for all this. For that, some commission is required. So that commission was set up in 1955, the very first commission. I mean, not 55, but 1953 to be exact. So that commission was set up in 1953, 29th of January. called Kalelkar Commission, because Kaka Kalelkar was the chairperson of the commission, and gave the report in 1955, the first backward classes commission. So this is reservation. I think you know everything here now. EWS, we know very well, it is 10%, right? We have seen that. Jyoti, what is EWS? Economically weaker section, we have discussed this here only. And Third Amendment Act. Yes or no? EWS category. Don't forget so quickly here. So, let me just go back a bit. 1953. First BCC, Backward Classes Commission, also called the Kalelkar Commission. Kaka Kalelkar, Kelelkar, Kaka Kalelkar. Report 1955. See, one thing you have to understand is that as per the Hutton Committee had said that in the country there are roughly 52% OBCs. And Kalelkar Commission used that argument, used that data to give suggestions that we should reserve 75% jobs for OBCs. See, 75% is a bit too much. For one category, it was way too much. Of course, it was not accepted. So, and that topic also was largely shunted out because, see, OBC as a community has a lot of disparity. Some OBCs hold land, are rich people, others are suffering. So, this entire community cannot be treated in the same fashion because of a lot of disparity in the ways and lives of these communities. SC/STs in general had a very difficult life, in general, and majorly. So it was easy to identify their problems. But for OBCs, because of some communities being very strong, politically strong, large number. So large number also means democracy. In democracy, large number means vote bank. So that also was there as an advantage, because now the politicians, a lot of politicians rose to great heights through OBC vote bank only. Though they did nothing for the benefit of OBCs because their purpose was just vote bank politics, but they did. So putting in at the forefront interest of OBCs was not really in any party's favor largely. But then these regional parties had come up on the vote bank of OBC. So that was their vote bank. In 1977, when Indira Gandhi lost elections, Janata Party came to power. What was Janata Party? Janata Party was a group of 5 parties. All of them belong or largely had some kind of regional representation somewhere and some OBC vote bank. They thought that now time has come, we have to improve upon this situation of OBCs and let them also get their due share in government jobs. So, former CM of Bihar, BP Mandal, under his recommendation or under his chairmanship, a commission was formed, the second Backward Classes Commission. The first one, 1953, second one, this, in 1979. Since it was chaired by BP Mandal, it is called Mandal Commission. And the report came out in 1980. Now, this Mandal Commission made a recommendation that, see, in 1963-64, case of 63, judgment of 64, in one Bharat Shah case, Supreme Court had said that what is reservation? Reservation is exception. The norm, the rule is that you admit people based on their skill set, okay, based on their performance in some measurement in some examination, etc. Reservation is an exception where we are making provisions for certain categories of people because they are not adequately represented, their groups. So exception cannot be more than half. What is the point of exception? If exception becomes more than half, it becomes majority only. Then you can't call it exception. So Supreme Court said in 1964 to be exact. In books they mention 63, which is wrong actually, because the judgment came out in 64. So in 64, Supreme Court said that the limit of reservation should only be 50%. Reservations should not cross 50%. That was Supreme Court. That is why we already had reservation for SC 15, ST 7.5, 22.5, maximum 50. Then what remained? 27. So the figure of 27 came from that. 27%. Though if you actually look at the population of OBCs, frankly, even if you don't believe the Hutton Committee report, National Sample Survey Organization has suggested in 2005-6 that the OBC population is roughly around 55%. So whatever report you believe, we have more than half the people in this country as OBCs. So that adequate representation should be there, which is still not there. Anyway, but this is where the reservation for OBCs in government jobs for the first time was recommended. So till then, there was no such discussion after the Kalilkar Commission on reservation of jobs for OBCs. It was for SC/STs only. Now, 1980 report came, but Janata Party had lost the elections, had been thrown out. Indira Gandhi came back to power. She had no interest in this commission, so she largely did not go forward with this. But again, 1989, when Rajiv Gandhi lost the elections, we had the National Front government of VP Singh. That government had the same idea that we should implement the Mandal Commission recommendation. And you can see here, this was implemented in the year 1990 because of Article 16, Clause 4. Okay, so that is where it was implemented finally. The reservation of for OBCs in government jobs. OBCs had to wait for 15 more years for reservation in schools and colleges. That happened in 2005. But government jobs here. Now, when this was approved, of course, a lot of hue and cry, a lot of people came to Delhi, started protesting in Delhi, etc. Right? That all these jobs are gone, or 27% jobs gone. See, also understand the context. At that point of time, government job was seen as very sacred, right? Because India did not go with, India did not have the LPG reforms yet. So we did not have these amazing jobs in the private sector, right? We did not have so many coaching institutes, etc. So the government job was by far the best job for somebody from the lower class, middle class, even lower high class. Now, of course, somebody who's rich and all, they won't need government job, but most people, it was an amazing job to work in. So that was a very important factor at that point of time. Protests happened, and this matter went to Supreme Court, which gave a judgment which we know as the Mandal case or the Indira Sahni case of 1992, also called the Mandal case. See, the OBC reservation has been marred with lot of controversy in the initial days. There is a very iconic figure of a kid, a graduate, who had self-immolated himself. While protesting, one kid put petrol on himself, kerosene oil, whatever, and burnt himself alive as a mark of protest. What's the value of this protest now? So that is how extreme the protests were. How extreme. But you know what? See, reservations for OBCs were definitely very important, but the way it was projected was very negative. So, and thanks to our great leaders. I don't want to name a leader, but now because of this reservation, our people will become strong. And so far, our women have been working under these men. Now their women will work under us. Is this some kind of revenge? And why do you bring women inside into this? So this kind of mentality reeked of vengeance and also patriarchy. So reservation was never about vengeance or revenge, that I have suffered, payback time. No. It was about everybody accepting that yes, some people have suffered, we have to provide for equity for everyone, and therefore special provisions. This negativity that surrounded reservations was all thanks to our politicians. That is why, uh, I mean, the more you know of all these things, the more you will feel how is this country surviving after all these amazing politicians living in this country. It's all hats off to the people of this country that we are still able to not just survive but thrive amongst the leading countries on this planet, all thanks to people. Had it been for these politicians, we would have been down the drain. So like maybe it would be second Pakistan. This has been their motive. Even now, that's what they do constantly. So also, the other argument and other side is that people also did not understand and appreciate uh, the intention behind reservation, because of course it was not told to them properly. When you make all these statements, like some leader said, Mandal versus Kamandal. What is Kamandal? Kamandal is basically a utensil which Brahmins used to carry their holy water, Ganga Jal, in. So Mandal Commission is a response to this Kamandal. Why are you pitting this reservation policy against some community? It is not meant for that. It is not meant to harass some Kshatriya or some Brahmin or some Vaishya. No, it is meant for upliftment. Why can you simply not have this agenda in mind? This is also the current problem with the entire concept of Jai Bhim. Rather than respecting Ambedkar's thought and following and educating the masses, they want you to have that feeling of vengeance. That is what they're instilling. There's no education going on. They're only instilling vengeance in the minds of a community against some other community. That's a sad scenario. All these so-called great leaders of the poor, all of them have huge amounts of property, living in foreign countries, fighting for their property in the courts. So the ulterior motive is questionable. But anyway, so I was saying, since people also did not appreciate the intention, what also did not reflect nicely was how the non-OBC people took these reservations. So, and it also shows the mindset that people have in general. So, in the 1990s only, when the protests happened, when you protest, it shows what you are thinking. That's why it's, in the answer writing I had said, choose words very carefully, because your choice of words will reflect what you think. And frankly, when all these people came to Delhi to protest, all these parents must have told them, or the kids, what they did was they took brooms in their hands, and they were sweeping the street as a mark of protest. Now, what is the meaning of this? That, oh, now they are going to get all those jobs which belong to us, so we will have to do their jobs. That's your protest. Does it mean that that committee's task is to clean the streets and you will sit in the AC offices? Even in 2005, when the reservation happened in all these IITs, IIMs, everywhere, schools, colleges, a lot of parents brought their kids to Delhi, Connaught Place, and they asked them to come on sit for photographs with a shoe polish, shoe brush, and the shoe, polishing the shoe. Why? What is this protest? That if a scheduled caste person or an OBC enters IIT, my kid will have to do their job. So as if it's the job of an OBC to clean the shoes and your job is to sit in the IITs and IIMs. So that became a problem. That is also reflective of the very poor mindset that we had. And see, though I have recently lost a lot of regard for the logic of Justice D.Y. Chandrachud because of his excessive woke judgments, but when somebody is right, you have to give the due where the person is right. So actually, in one judgment, Justice Chandrachud very rightfully said that we have to take into account the social realities. We have to undo the centuries of discrimination and prejudice suffered by SCs and STs. And very important, if the benchmark of efficiency in any country is based on exclusion, the result is only going to be a pattern of governance which will be skewed against the marginalized. So, benchmark of efficiency can never be based on excluding certain people. So that's it. Anyway, so once this matter went to court, the Supreme Court took up the case and gave the judgment. And Supreme Court, firstly, to tell you, they accepted the 27% reservation as being valid. So the reservation was deemed to be valid. No problem whatsoever with the reservation. But Supreme Court gave some guidelines. What are these guidelines? One by one. Guideline number one, Supreme Court reiterated the same thing. Quotas should not cross 50%. Now, there is a misconception amongst the minds of people that Supreme Court has said the reservation should only be 50%. How dare you cross it? No. The full line says, if it crosses 50%, judicial review. Are we clear now? From next time onwards, have the entire statement in your mind that there is nothing said by Supreme Court that don't cross 50%. Supreme Court has said the quota should ideally be 50%. If you give reservation more than 50%, you have to get it approved by us. We can review it. Why are you crossing 50%? What's the need for it? That's it. Secondly, now Supreme Court said, and this was a concept which was introduced by P.V. Narasimha Rao government in 1990s, creamy layer. Like take milk for example. If you keep milk, the cream, which has all the fats, floats at the top. So in any group of people, there will be some socially advanced. Creamy layer basically refers to socially advanced, or you can simply call them elite people. Elite. So the elite will be at the top. They don't need no benefits, right? So we have to take away those benefits, or we have to exclude those people. So Supreme Court told the government, please set up a committee. Set up a committee for identification of all these people who will not be given the benefit. Exclude them. So a committee was set up under the chairmanship of retired Justice Ramnathan Prasad, R.N. Prasad Committee. This committee was set up in 1993, the month of March, and gave the recommendation, in 1992, and gave the recommendation in 1993, month of March. So, Ram Nandan Prasad Committee, 1993. This committee was told, please find out those criteria which, if met, will exclude somebody from getting the benefit of OBC reservation. So this committee found all those people who were in the creamy layer, and the kids of all those people will be excluded from the benefit. So exclusion of creamy layer. What is that? Children of the following different categories of people belonging to the creamy layer will no longer be getting the quota benefit. You don't need to mug up this list. Not a single question has or will ever be asked on this. Don't worry. People holding constitutional posts. If your father or mother is the President of India, VP, Judge of Supreme Court, High Court, then no OBC reservation for you. Okay. If your parents are Group A, Group B officers, direct recruit Group B officers, etc., no quota for you. If your parents are equivalent post holders in armed forces, Army, Navy, etc., of course, no reservation for you. Under OBC, mind you. Then professions like doctors, lawyers, engineers. Respect for engineers. So engineers, artists, authors, consultants. Then people engaged in trade, business, industry. People having some agricultural land. And lastly, people having annual income more than 8 lakhs. Okay. This is currently 8 lakhs. but we know very well this is up for discussion. It is up for increase also. Originally, when the Ram Nandan committee was formed, R.N. Prasad committee, they had given the recommendation of 1 lakh. So it was originally 1 lakh rupees. Of course, this was in 1993. It was not increased for next 10 years. Then finally, in the year 2004, it was made 2.5. Then the government decided to increase it every 5 years. So it was made 4.5 in the year 2008. It was made 6 in the year 2013. It was made 8 in the year 2017. Now it is up for revision. This is the current limit. Now it is being said, increase it to 12 lakhs. Some are saying increase it to 15 lakhs. Increase it to 1 crore only. 12 lakhs, 15 lakhs, poor person. Are you crazy? I mean, let's be realistic. We have to be realistic on this situation that somebody who is getting 15 lakhs rupees per annum, I don't see their family as a poor family. Look at the gross income of people of our country. 50% people of this country, 50%, let me remind you, their annual income is 53,000 rupees. 53,000 rupees. This is the biggest joke in our country. Even right now, 8 lakhs is a very high income limit. So basically, the middle class family is getting the advantage. The middle class, not the poor. That is the beauty of our country, that most of our schemes are gobbled up by the middle class people or the lower high class people, and the poor still suffer. So that's why I've always maintained this point, that it is your responsibility when you join the service to make sure that this divide gets bridged. Otherwise, we'll only be furthering this divide. So you are going to join the service not to serve the needs of rich, but to serve the needs of the country and the poor. Shalu, 1 lakh? What is 1 lakh? Anyway, if a petty shopkeeper. No, of course, if there is a very small shopkeeper who does not come under the income criteria, he will not be included. Income criteria has to be seen along with that. All these things are subject to income criteria also. Okay? Pooja, if a girl were married in financially good but not her own parents. No, Pooja. They can get the benefit of reservation. No problem. Until and unless they once see, even if you are earning, let's say you are earning 30 lakh rupees per annum, but your parents did not earn that amount, you can get the benefit of it actually. So the benefit comes from your parents' annual income, not your annual income, at least for UPSC. It can vary for other states and all, but that's there. Are we clear on this? Reservation, the creamy layer, criteria number 2. Third criteria, and this is something very, very valid. Supreme Court said, if you identify communities as backward class communities, we can review it. Because we know very well that if left on their own, government will classify every community as OBC because they want votes. So Supreme Court has said, if you are now, let's say today, if the government says Marathas are backward, Supreme Court says we can check it. Show me data. Where is the data? This happened actually. In the case of Marathas, and I mean, look at the situation in the states. I mean, when the reservation was being made for Marathas, initially the reservation was made for what? For Marathas and Muslims, and the reservation said that 16% for the Marathas and Muslims. In 2014, this was actually cancelled by Bombay High Court. Bombay High Court said, where is data? How can you say randomly that Marathas are socially low or poor people. Give me facts. So a Gaikwad commission was set up just for this purpose. It gave a recommendation that 12 to 13% reservation can be given to the Marathas and Muslims accordingly. And based on this, the government passed a law also, Maharashtra SEBC Act 2018, to give 16% reservation. Right? It went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, how can you treat Marathas as an exception? Marathas are dominant forward classes in the mainstream of national political life in Maharashtra. Treating that community as backward is not justified. Your facts don't qualify or don't prove that Marathas are backward. So that resulted in the cancellation of course, the reservation. Why? Because Supreme Court has this power to review the categorization of any community as an SEBC, and I believe rightfully so. I mean, rightfully so. I don't see anything wrong here, because the problem is that governments tend to misuse this provision. Then, this is very important. Article 16. What is this article? 16 clause 4. This is the article for reservation in government jobs, right? So Supreme Court said that we are all up for reservation, no problem. But you have to also follow what is mentioned under Article 335. What is 335? Let's read. Don't read the second clause. Read the first clause only. Don't read the second part. Read the first part only. Let's read. So I'll explain first. This article says that SC/ST reservation will be done. Don't worry. But we cannot compromise with the efficiency of administration. Meaning, don't hire any random person. The administrative efficiency has to be maintained. So reservation, yes, we'll do it, but it should be consistent with the quality. Let's read now. The claims of members of SCs and the STs shall be taken into consideration consistently with the maintenance of efficiency of administration in the making of appointments to services and posts in connection with the affairs of the union of or the state. This is what Supreme Court said. Now. Supreme Court said, Article 16 clause 4, you make reservations, but don't compromise with the efficiency. Parliament said, sorry, we will make reservation. And Parliament added this provision. Which was through the 82nd Amendment Act 2000. Right, like this. The year 2000. What is this? Let's read now. Provided that nothing in this article shall prevent in making any provision in favor of SCs and STs. For what? Relaxation in qualifying marks or lowering the standard of evaluation. Yes, I understand that efficiency is required, but I can lower the qualifying marks. I can relax the standards of evaluation for SC/STs, because we have to provide for reservation for SC/STs. Are we clear? So this was added by the government. So or the Parliament. Now, the last point. So for a lot of you, this would be the real cause of heartburn maybe. So a lot of you agree on reservation, that yes, it should be given and all. But let me take a poll once again. A, B. A for yes, B for no. There's no right answer here. Just your feeling. Should we have reservation in promotions in government jobs? A for yes, B for no. Okay, see, now this has changed or reversed drastically. Yes or no? Because a lot of you feel once we have given reservation, then equality has been set. This is what Supreme Court said. Supreme Court said quotas should be confined only to initial recruitment. Only to initial recruitment. That's it. What does this mean? This means let me give you an example here only. Here only. So there are, say, two people. One is from the unreserved category. I'll call them unreserved or open category. The other is SC or ST. So mind you, reservation in promotion is there in the country right now, but only for SC, ST, not for OBC. Now, both these people enter the government job at this level. This is entry. Okay. Entry. Now, let's take the rank. Let's say SP, senior SP. Now, don't start fighting, sir. Who is senior SP? In some states, you have SSPs. In other states, you don't have SSPs. Don't worry. Then we have DIG, you have IG, you have ADG, you have special DG, and you have DG, Director General. IG is Inspector General, DIG Deputy Inspector General. Full form is not important. I will just give an example. Here also SP, SSP, DIG, IG, ADG, SDG, DG. When you give reservation at the entry level, don't we have reservation here? Yes or no? We have it. What is the purpose here? The purpose of giving reservation is equality of opportunity. I am saying that we want equal opportunities. Some communities have been denied equal opportunities. Fair enough, fair enough. But if I give reservation in promotion, then what happens? Then I am forcing everybody, this person, hand holding them and saying, come on, be the DG. We can't have this now. The problem is, if we have reservation here, as per Supreme Court, reservation in promotion, it means equality of outcome. That is something we can't assure. What if somebody does not work only? What if somebody does not want to get promoted? We can't force that. So equality of outcome should be based on your performance. But that's what we'll do. We will ensure equality of opportunity. So Supreme Court did not, or Supreme Court said no reservation in promotion. But the reservation in promotion was added in the constitution with modifications done by the parliament. So parliament modified Article 16 by adding one clause 4A. You should remember this also, because Article 16 clause 4 provides for reservation in government jobs. 16 clause 4A, this is this reservation in promotion. So that thing you see is basically mentioned under Article 16 clause 4A. And now we have reservation in promotions, okay, in the country with the amendments made by the parliament. I hope this point is clear. Only for SCs, STs, not for OBCs. I am repeating, only for SC, ST, not for OBCs. See, you may say that, sir, not justified, wrong. But then when we say something is wrong, there should be some kind of facts and data to prove the same. Now, understand this point. We have made reservation. So, for every 100 people who are selected, 15 are SCs, 7 to 8 are STs, 27 are OBCs, etc. So, with every level of promotion, we'll have promotion for SCs also, STs also, OBCs also. Everybody gets promoted. Meaning at every level of governance, let's say if I take some secretaries, if I take additional secretaries, if I choose joint secretaries, I will find adequate representation everywhere. Some can go here and there, possible. But in general, if I take 100 secretaries, I should find roughly 20-25 SC/STs, 27 OBCs, roughly 15-20 SC/STs. I'll give you government reported figures. In 2019, what happened? We found data that out of 82 Government of India secretaries, how many are SC/STs? 4 belong to SC and ST communities added. So let's not write comma, let's give an oblique. SC or ST, just 4. How? At least 22 or 23 entered the system. They were systematically denied promotions. And not just this, out of 457 secretaries, additional secretaries, even joint secretaries, middle management level, you'll be surprised. Just 12% were SCs or OBCs. And mind you, 42% had entered the system, 27% OBCs, 15% SCs. How can the SC and OBC not get even 2 promotions? Are you kidding with me right now? This means there has been some kind of systemic denial in promotions. It happens actually, right? So a lot of people have this issue, and there are various ways in which promotions can be denied, and treatment of a person incorrectly, inappropriately, it happens, still happens. And this data suggests, and this has been a data again and again. In 2012 also, a similar kind of situation existed. Out of 113 additional secretaries, I think 5 of them were SCs. So this problem has persisted. That is why this is just an argument in favor of government's policy of reservation in promotion. Okay. This is why governments have been insistent on reservation in promotion. So it may be because most of them are not interested in that profession. Most of them. This is just an assumption, right? So we will largely believe on data and not assumptions. Who are we to make assumptions what the person likes or does not like? So that's it. Anyway, see, Supreme Court, when this reservation in promotion was made by the government, it was of course challenged in the court. So it was challenged in the court in 2006. And when it was challenged in the court that this is wrong, Supreme Court said, okay, don't worry. State, you can make a reservation in promotion. That's what you want? No problem. But you have to fulfill certain criteria. So Supreme Court introduced certain criteria. Criteria number 1. If you are giving reservation to any SC/ST in promotion, they have to prove that they are still currently backward. See, for an OBC to prove backwardness, you have to prove that you are low in social position or you have no money, etc. So that can't be proved because you have gained money now. But for SC/ST, what is the criteria? For a scheduled caste person, the criteria is untouchability. How can an IAS officer prove this? See, we see all these news happening. Some MP refused to get treated from an SC doctor. You may say you're a stupid MP, but that's not the end of the story. Imagine what the SC doctor is going through now. Imagine how he must be feeling in his entire work environment. The treatment given by his juniors to him, the colleagues to him, he has lost all respect. That is wrong. So this kind of discrimination, sometimes which is not visible, is very clear and rampant. Let's say I'm in a C. I go to my office. I'm sitting. Everybody's sitting to eat food. I go there, sit to my tiffin. They all leave from there, or they're all eating from each other's tiffin, but not from my tiffin. Don't you think an SC person understands this? Now you will say, "Oh, sir, can this be a criteria to give them reservation?" Of course not. But this is discrimination. And if you are not a scheduled caste person, you will never understand the discrimination that they are facing on a daily basis. When we don't let our maids and people uh, eat or drink in the same utensil, we say it's hygiene. In most cases, it is discrimination. And no, it is more like women always have this complaint. So girls here would agree on this. Women always say that, when we go out on the road, these men stare at us uh, in a very vulgar fashion. As a man, we have never faced this. So we don't really understand what is this stare which is making you uncomfortable. It is very difficult for us to understand, actually, frankly. We may empathize with you, but to truly understand, not possible. Because only those people can truly understand it who have faced it. Same thing. You have to be a scheduled caste person to truly understand those very subtle discrimination that you face. And I'll give you a true story of what happened. Let's not name any person here. So there was a person who is in some service, some rank, just 6 years back. It's not some 30-year-old story. 6 years back. So he still is serving. It's been now 6-7 years now, or sorry, 8 years now. So he narrated an incident. So he belonged to an upper caste community. Which community? Ignore. He belonged to an upper caste community. The story goes that he said, now I'll just narrate what he said, that when I was a small kid and I used to go back to my village. That's what he's saying, that when he used to go back to his village in his summer holidays, so they had a very large tract of land, a lot of people working in their land, largely a slightly rich landlord family. And he had a huge garden in front of his house. And what happened was, one fine morning, he came out of the house. His grandfather was brushing his teeth. 2 or 3 people came in front of the house. One of them was crying. So he asked, the grandfather asked what happened. The guy is sitting there. This person who is narrating the story was very old, very young at that point of time. So he said that I saw my grandfather, and he was asking, why are you crying? These 3 people were some workers who worked in the field of this person's grandfather. So one worker who was not crying, he said that Sahib meaning the grandfather's younger son, this person's uncle, he had at night molested this person's daughter. And molestation basically is rape only there. Molestation was a very nice word that he was using. The grandfather, what he said was, don't cry, take 2 bags of grains, go, enjoy. This is justice. That somebody's daughter gets raped and you say take 20 kgs of grains and justice done. But that's not the end of it. This person said, who is a current employee in the government, says, those were our great days of power and authority. That's not authority. That's shameful. You cannot take pride in this incident. You can't say with pride that those were our grand days. If you have this mentality, what can people expect from you when you serve them? Nothing. Frankly, zero. This is a very important argument that is being pushed forward, that we have to make people understand those age-old issues, and we have to make them realize that there is a genuine sense of equality. Even a few months back, we had this news item that one Dalit person was riding on a mare horse, female horse, to his marriage, and all these upper caste women gave a dharna that how dare you sit on a horse for marriage. It's only an upper caste tradition. Nonsense. So these kind of subtle discriminations keep on taking place, which they only get to know, right? So anyway, Supreme Court said, now you have to prove that. But you can't prove all these things. It is impossible to prove. This is absolutely absurd to ask them to prove all these things. Anyway, apart from it, Supreme Court also said cadre-wise representation of SC/STs. So basically, in amongst IAS officers, how many SCs? Amongst IPS, how many SCs? Amongst IRS, how many SCs? Find that out. If in any cadre they are not represented properly, then give reservation. And number 3, you also have to keep in mind that when you are giving reservation in promotion, it should not affect the administrative efficiency. So these 3 arguments were imposed by Supreme Court on reservation in promotion, which actually became a huge problem for people getting promoted. So suddenly, despite the reservation happening, because of not being able to prove the current backwardness, people could not get promoted. How will I prove that my junior is not responding to my orders properly? I can't prove it. I see his stare, I see his remarks, I see those subtle statements in the office. I can't prove it. I can't go on collecting evidences. That was a problem. This case finally was challenged in the court, and judgment came in 2018. Finally, judgment came in 2018, where Supreme Court, thankfully, better sense prevailed in them. Supreme Court removed this criteria. So this criteria removed in 2018 finally. That is why you will find out, despite reservation in promotion, how is this possible? Because of Nagra judgment, where promotions could not be given because the SC/ST person could not prove his backwardness. So in Jarnail Singh judgment, Supreme Court removed the first criteria, but Supreme Court added a new criteria. Rightfully so. What is the criteria? Supreme Court said that, see, it is very important to make reservation in promotion for certain people, but there should be some kind of data. So what Supreme Court said, I'll give you an example. Let us say there is a person from Oraon community and one more person from, say, Topo community. Oraon, Topo, these are all tribals, STs, like Murmu is one tribal community, Oraons, Topos, etc. Both of them are currently SP in the police department. Now they are both up for promotion. Both are STs up for promotion. The Supreme Court says, before giving any kind of reservation for them, you firstly find out. Next promotion level is, say, SSP. Let's assume SSP is the next promotion level. You find out in SSPs how many Oraons are currently SSPs, how many Topos are currently SSPs. Find out. Let's assume 30 Oraons are SSPs currently and 12 Topos are SSPs. This means Oraons are properly represented. So now don't give the reservation in promotion to Oraons. Give it only to the Topos. Are we clear on this? This is now like a creamy layer only. Within the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, you create this high value group, the high income group, the high status group, that those communities which already have a lot of people there, they should not get the benefit of reservation in promotion. This is largely appropriate. So this was done in the Jarnail Singh judgment finally. And lastly, just to summarize it, Mukesh Kumar judgment is very clear, and I'll repeat this again for everyone. Reservation is not your fundamental right. Reservation is based on your situation and it is subject to government making provisions for the same. Reservation is an exception to fundamental rights. The right is no discrimination. Reservation creates discrimination. Reservation is a positive discrimination. It's an enabling provision. It is not a fundamental right. Reservation. Neither Article 16, Clause 4, nor Article 16, Clause 4A. So neither promotion nor reservation. I hope this point is clear. Reservation is not your fundamental right. So if a statement comes in the examination prelims, we know what to write. And Supreme Court has said rightfully that state is not bound to make reservation for SC/STs. However, if you wish to exercise your discretion, then of course, state has to collect quantifiable data. Give us data, quantify, measurable data on inadequacy. If you are saying, I want to make reservation for some SC community, the point is, I want facts. How many SCs are at higher levels of jobs? If they are not there, reservation. If they are there, no reservation. As simple as it. I hope this point is clear. So that is all as far as Mukesh Kumar judgment and reservation is concerned. Lastly, we know this very well, 103rd Amendment Act, Article 16, Clause 6, which talks about the EWS category, and this has also been upheld by Supreme Court as constitutional. Just last year, this has been accepted as constitutional in the Janhit Abhiyan case of 2019. Okay, so that is all as far as our story of reservation is concerned. That's it. See, reservation is not just a financial empowerment, it is also social empowerment. So we have to view reservation in that light. And when it comes to reservation, the benefit of or the reservation should or must reach the deserving candidate in a category, and state is under the obligation, mind you, that this benefit is not eaten away by a candidate of reserve category who has better merit than that of candidate who was last admitted in the course. The idea I am trying to portray here is that, of course, reservation is there in the country and you have a rightful claim to it. But it's also, if I'm a SC person, it's also my social responsibility not to just garner benefit and capture it completely. Let's say I have obtained the benefit of reservation. It is also a social obligation on me that other communities or people of my community, they should also get the benefit. Like you always tell women that all these women who are very progressive now in cities, right, who know their rights, it is also your duty to ensure that women in villages, they don't continue to suffer, right? Of course, you will say it is not my duty. It's not your duty, but it would not be appropriate that one family captures all the posts and other lakhs of families remain without any kind of representation. So not just the state, every community should have a responsibility to ensure that the benefits spread far and wide to people of their own community as well, meaning other families also. So that is how it should be, because eventually the important idea is the growth of the nation, right? So that should be the precise idea that we should have in our mind. That's all for this topic. Don't worry, it is very unlikely that a question will be asked in the examination from reservation. It's a very controversial topic. There are no right answers for this. The right answer is that they need reservation, but basically because you are still in the midst of all this job and fighting for this job, etc., so you will be biased in your opinion. It's okay, no problem. Largely, a question may be asked in the main exam, in the interview, your personal opinion. Please have empathy and don't make extreme statements. And for the closing argument, reservation for SC/STs is not on economic criteria. because even when you give some SC some money, the discrimination can still continue because the discrimination is not based on their economic status. It is based on this untouchability. So please don't push this argument in any argument that SC person has now money, now they are rich. Their being rich has got nothing to do with the elevated status in society. Okay, that's all as far as our discussion is concerned. Let's take a break. Be back at say 3:40, 3:45, and we'll continue further. Shalu, sorry, Lakshmikant book, it is written that OBC got reservation in education institution by 93rd, but still, sir, but it was added 1 CA. Shalu, I just made that statement. The First Amendment Act actually added the provision that state can make reservation. Can make reservation. Did it make? Yes, for SC/ST. Can make, it made for SC/ST. For OBCs in government jobs, they had to wait till 1990, and for schools and colleges, they had to wait till 2005. So can make and made are two different things, right? You can study, but are you studying? Maybe, maybe not. Difference. I hope that point is clarified. Okay, let's take a break. Be back 3:45. We will discuss further. As far as this word consequential seniority is concerned, it is of no concern to us, though I'll just explain a simple statement in that regard. Consequential seniority means it's a consequence of reservation and promotion and not an added benefit. Basically, consequential seniority allows a reserved category candidate to retain seniority over general category candidates who are their peers. So if a senior to you who is an open category person enter the job before you, he becomes a senior. But because of reservation, if at any point of time you become his senior, then you are considered the senior. I hope this point is clear. That is called consequential seniority, is of no concern to us. It's too much of detailed information which will never be asked in the examination. Okay, that is all as far as our discussion is concerned. After the break, we will take up Article 17. 3:45. Break, please, guys.